Joe Biden still running for re-election, sadly, and the debt ceiling deal that has apparently just been made. I guess to start, can we explain what the debt ceiling even is?
Sure. So the debt ceiling is basically sets a cap on the amount of borrowing that the U.S. government's allowed to do. So it's not actually like a way to create new spending. It's just a way to finance existing spending that Congress has already decided or committed to making. So the exercise of it used to be that this was like a kind of non-partisan, non-political issue where you just would run up against like this borrowing limit and you had to extend your borrowing ability to meet your obligations. But recently, over the last like 15-ish years, it's become like grounds for high stakes political combat where the Democrats and Republicans basically fight about what their priorities are going to be and kind of like foreshadow what spending they think is okay and what spending they don't think is okay.
Right, and it sounds like the GOP made out like bandits in the negotiations. I haven't really read anything that the Democrats got out of it, but meanwhile, it seems like the GOP was able to get work requirements shoved in and cutting the IRS funding. And it seems like Joe Manchin just got a pipeline out of it, as far as I can tell. He seems to be the only one pushing for this pipeline, and suddenly there it is in the deal. Am I right on that?
Yeah, I mean, I think like the political calculus for Joe Biden was that he thought it would be bad for there to be a debt ceiling crisis under his administration. So for them, they're kind of like broadcasting this as just being able to find a deal at all and raise the debt limit is a win for them, And I think like I disagree that that is a political win. Like that just seems to me like sort of bad. Playing the political game poorly. There should have been some attempt to like hang this around Republicans, be like, hey, they're trying to hold the country hostage. And there really wasn't that much of that. And instead, you just see again, like Joe Biden is much more comfortable being kind of a Senate type creature, transactional, making backroom deals. And like that's really how he understands politics in the country. He doesn't really think about the implementation of policy down the line. I think he's seeing it much more through the lens of like, how does DC do business, basically. So
Right.
yeah, not a good win for the Democrats, regardless of what they're going to say on TV in the next few days. And really, like the Democratic Party really snubbing some of the core constituencies that helped Biden win the presidency in 2020, especially working people, people of color, young people who have student loans, and environmental activists. So I think it's a really pretty disgraceful deal overall.
Right. It seems like Biden is way more interested in getting a deal done and being complete with something and saying, oh, I did this, rather than any of the policy within it, regardless of what it actually does. He's more happy to just say, well, I got that done, and then let the Democratic Party spin it to their advantage in whatever way they can. But it's going to be hard to this time because I'm not really seeing, like, what did the Dems get out of this? I can't, like, they screwed over more of their voters. I'm just not sure like what the win is. Like, how do you spin this to the activists?
I'm not sure, but Joe Manchin did get a pipeline. Also, I saw this morning that Chuck Schumer's second largest political donor is the company behind the Mountain Valley Pipeline, the one that randomly popped up in this deal. And so, the win for the Democrats is that their donors and their backers win. And so, when you exist to uphold corporate America and people in the pipeline business, that's a win.
Yeah, and I think like the Democrats are going to sell this publicly as we kept the lights on, we were the responsible party, we're the adults in the room, which we hear a lot from them. But that, yeah, what Richie's saying is like, that's the win for that they take back to the donors, and they say like, hey, we juice the economy a little bit more for you guys, aren't you? Like pleased with how this turned out? And meanwhile, it's just going to screw those groups I was just talking about. It's really, there's nothing for what, you know, is like purported to be the kind of core Democratic Party constituency here, which again is like working people, people of color, young people. There's just nothing in this bill that's going to benefit those folks. And in fact, there's a lot in this bill that's going to be really harmful. New SNAP work requirements, new TANF work requirements. That's just pure punitive, let's punish the poor type policy. I mean, there's no real rationale for why that would be good policy making at all. The Mountain Valley Pipeline, obviously, just completely pork for Joe Manchin, who, I mean, you know, we can dwell on that for a second because, like, this is a guy, like, Joe Manchin's a guy who's supposed to be a moderate. He's supposed to be a voice of reason. So how is it that he made out best in this deal of any group of actors? You know, this is a guy who like hit a home run basically, and meanwhile, we're supposed to think of this person as someone who's a reasonable, responsible legislator, you know, who really just has the best interests of the country, of moderation in mind when he's legislating. And meanwhile, he just got this huge win for his donors and, you know, for the wealthy people in West Virginia. I mean, it's not going to help working people in West Virginia, but like that was sort of the top line environmental policy from this. And it's just really disgraceful, I think.
Yeah, and what was the news in the weeks leading up to this was that Joe Manchin is kind of subtly threatening to run for president himself. He mentioned that there's this grassroots momentum for him, which there absolutely isn't. There's corporate funded backers who want him to do this, probably to create this exact situation where he suddenly has leverage on the president to demand something in the debt ceiling negotiations, which is exactly what he did. And he got what he wants. And we'll see over the next couple of weeks if he's serious, if he's still pretending to be serious about running for president, or if that was all just a ploy to get exactly what he got.